Welcome to the Central Seminary podcast. We are here for a special conversation on cultivating friendship. They say that you can't choose your family, but you can choose your friends. But what if you do that when you're 4 years old? This is a fun conversation we have with two longtime friends, Greg Deckert and Jon Pratt. Welcome to the podcast, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for the invite.
It's great to think about this conversation of friendship, biblical friendship, cultivating that. And we're going to get to hear just a little bit about the ways that God has shaped your guys' life and some of that together, both in your vocation, personally, some families. And so I'm excited for this conversation. As we think about biblical friendship, we see examples in Scripture and get to see some of the joy of that. Just as you guys have reflected on your friendship now as we're talking about this, I'm going to ask, just in some of the shared experience that we're going to talk about, are there books that you guys have read together? I'm thinking Dr. Seuss, maybe back to 4 years old or something like that. But one of the fun questions that we love to ask is, and our guest on the podcast, is maybe a book that you're reading right now that's been a help to you. Dr. Pratt, I'll go first. I'm guessing you have probably a few that might be on your list, but what's a book that that's been on your shelf that's been an encouragement to you?
Well, I just finished a book called Light on the Hill. It's a history of Capitol Hill Baptist in Washington, D.C. It was a very well-written and enjoyable book. I'm in the middle of a book. He would call himself a Christian, although I don't think he would use the adjective evangelical. It's called The Meaning of Your Life by Arthur Brooks. It's been quite a fascinating read. I've also just begun Carl Trueman's The Desecration of Man. And so I'm looking forward to delving into that one a lot more.
Yeah, Greg, any books that you're devouring right now?
Like John, I read lots of books at one time, which probably isn't a good idea. But most recently, I finished Not Old, Not Young, Not Done, a book by Christopher Ashe. I actually read it in 2025, and I just finished it again. It's one of those books that's good enough to read twice. You know, a book about following Jesus in your 50s and 60s, as the nest empties and retirement is not here, but you're starting to contemplate retirement and the best use of your time and just being, nudged out of complacency. Yeah. It's a really good book.
So Greg, as you're coming to us, it's a joy to have you with us. You're a lawyer. What particular frame of a lawyer? Our minds jump to any TV show of thinking a lawyer. It's all probably not that dramatic each day.
It's much more mundane than that. Although I kind of have had two careers. So for 15 years, I was a lawyer in downtown Minneapolis. I was a partner in a large law firm, and I tried cases. I did litigation. Everybody, when they go to law school, that's the fun, exciting way to make a living. And then I kind of, by the time I was in my late 30s, I realized it was not a family-friendly way to make a living, at least for me. And so I reinvented myself and quit one day and became an estate planner. So we have an estate planning firm in Maple Grove now.
So looking back at your guys' friendship, and that's our conversation today, we're going to look a little bit about just some of the history of that friendship, what shapes that takes, and then we're going to also look at some of the how-to. How do we cultivate, and really as men, cultivate that relationship, that there can be some barriers to that, to see some of the practical ways that we can do that within the church family, and some of those dynamics, and we'll get to that part of the conversation. We mentioned some of the early years for you guys, ages 3 and 4. Do you recall some of those early days of meeting each other? There's a lot of proximity of your family being where you are. Where was that you guys met? Is it Minnesota here that would have been?
Yeah, we were. This was in this Owatonna. Our dads were, actually my dad had already taught for 1 year at Pillsbury Baptist Bible College, and Greg's dad was coming in the summer of 1968 to start his career there as well. His career ended up, he'd been, 25 years your dad was, or 28 maybe.
It was 28 years. When he left Pillsbury, he had taught there longer than anyone else.
Right. Mm-hmm. So he was just coming to start there, Greg's dad was. And so it was the summer of 1968.
Yeah.
So we're 62 now. So that was 58 years ago.
Wow.
I think I can remember that we met in the stairway by the church, but I'm not positive, because
it was a vacation Bible school.
Yeah.
It was just
and
getting
when you get
started.
old, you can remember things really well that didn't actually happen.
Yeah. So then into grade school, you're in the same class then, or didn't?
Well, our elementary school had 3 classes of each grade.
Okay.
But we would regularly be put into the same classroom, but we would be with each other on the playground, and we had the same teachers in elementary school, and then when we went into junior high and high school, Grace Baptist Church in town started a Christian school, and so we were in Christian school together from 7th through 12th grade.
Yeah, we regularly use the word idyllic. It was an idyllic childhood. I mean, we weren't just friends, but I mean, our sisters were friends.
Mm-hmm.
Our parents were friends. And lots of our friends were the children of the faculty that our parents taught with. Yeah. So it was a great growing up experience.
Sports, was that part?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Greg's dad was the basketball coach at the college.
Okay, yeah.
And so we never missed a home game. And quite frequently, I was blessed to be able to go along with Greg. His dad would allow us to come along to some away games as well. Nice. And that was always a lot of fun watching those together, goofing around.
Yeah. I mean, this could be an opportunity to reminisce about childhood sports because our wives don't let us do this when we get together.
I mean, that's another thing. Our wives love each other as well. So we have
was that? I mean, I may be getting into some high school drama here, but were the wives were they part of high school? Or was that something you met your wives each later in life?
We met our wives in college.
Okay.
So we could move.
Yeah,
we could say a whole lot more about things that we did in high school. I mean, I should take a step back into high school. So not only were we doing sports together, but whatever the season was, football season, we were playing out back. We were playing baseball during we'd play soccer. Whatever the season was, we were out. If you've ever watched the movie Sandlot, I mean, that was our life in the summers, especially.
And we were in choirs together and plays together, and basically everything that you do in a small private school, everyone does it together.
Yeah.
As you were moving into college, as you were discerning the Lord's calling on your life, what did that direction look like then? Stepping into college, was that different avenues then of pursuit?
Oh, that's an interesting question. We both went to Bible college where our dads taught. And I still remember the night we graduated from high school. We got together at a Perkins because it was open. It was like 2 a.m, I remember, because his family was getting ready to leave for summer vacation the next day. And I remember Greg asking me, "So, do you feel like we've got a big milestone here that we've just finished?" And I remember saying, "Well, still got 4 years of college and seminary after that, so I've got a ways to go." And but that was a milestone. We were there at graduation together, of course, and then went to college together.
But when you entered college, you sort of knew you were heading to the ministry, right?
Right.
I mean, that was kind of always assumed and understood.
Yeah,
it was not so much for me.
Yeah.
Right. And I remember Greg wrestled with, should I pursue ministry? After all, I'm going to a Bible college, and and a lot of our other friends were interested in doing that. But I believe that definitely the Lord. I don't remember if there was a particular book or person that kind of encouraged you to.
Yeah, I mean, that's another long road we can go down. We won't. But I mean, I went to seminary days with John, our last year in college, and I applied to Central and I was accepted. But during my senior year, I'll give you the short version. During my senior year of college, one of the Bible professors pulled me aside and said, "Have you ever considered law school? I think you might have some abilities and skills in this regard." And so that got me thinking about it. And eventually I, took the LSAT and applied. And that was really the beginning of it. A Bible professor, ironically.
Yeah. Did you think that your roads were going different directions then in that way, or did that friendship continue? Sometimes any of us have those childhood friendships and say, okay, hey, we start into different things. how did you guys then, even after mentioning even the college, then what did that next phase look like into seminary training, into law school?
That's interesting. We actually roomed together.
Oh.
My first year of seminary here at Central, Greg's first year at law school at University of Minnesota. And
so you were out in Pennsylvania on a pastoral internship experience, and I was
between college and seminary.
I was tasked. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
Tasked with finding an apartment, a suitable apartment.
Yeah. So he trusted you. Yeah. There's trust.
I don't know.
It was an apartment.
It was a little iffy.
Oh my goodness. So we roomed together at an apartment in Columbia Heights, John's first year of seminary and my first year of law school at the University of Minnesota Law School.
What was the study like in there? Were you guys just full in on studying? What?
We didn't see each other much.
Yeah.
John was studying and working and dating, and I was studying.
You were already dating by then.
Right. But the first year of law school is pretty rigorous.
Yeah.
It was awful.
And Greg, I think it's safe to say, did not like law school. I mean, as far as
That's true.
Yeah.
They say the first year of law school, they work you to death. The second year, the first year they scare you to death. The second year they work you to death. The third year they bore you to death. I hated all 3 years for the most part. Yeah.
So he was kind of hating his work in law school. I was loving seminary.
Yeah.
I had an evening. I worked at UPS that year. So yeah, we really didn't see much of each other because I would be studying in the afternoon when he was at the law school. So, but in looking back now, we were preparing for the careers that we have, and it was still fun, even if it wasn't exactly a pristine environment there in our apartment.
You brought up your girlfriends at the time. How did that transition then happen, and even encouraging each other in that with stepping into a relationship, and maybe those questions you're asking each other? Hey, should I do this? Should I ask her out? Some of that. What did that look like in the friendship?
I mean, ever since college, there haven't been any large decisions that I haven't, talked to John about, probably in any, life milestones, weddings, funerals. I mean, honestly, John's been a part of all of those. And that, dating was no different. He would talk to me about Elaine. I would talk to him about Pam.
Yeah. And we would, I guarantee that if one of us had a major issue or had seen something about the girl that we were dating, we would have said something. But in our cases, we both liked the other guy's choice.
Yeah.
And it was, we went on double dates a lot. So even before we were married.
John, I know your studies took you then to Dallas. So you're moving out of state. Greg, did you ever move out of Minnesota, or are you tried and true?
No, I went to the U of M Law School, took a job in downtown Minneapolis, eventually moved to the suburbs, but I've been here, ever since when did we move up here? 1985. Yeah.
And we were actually in a church position after seminary for 5 years before going down to Dallas for further study. So during those early years, we were having kids. And so even before we left and went to Dallas, I think we each had a couple of children by that point. And then we kept in touch, of course, while we were in Dallas. Since our family would come back regularly, we would come back for Christmas time and things like that. So we would always get together when we got back here into the state. And one time Greg came down to Dallas so we could attend a men's conference that was going on.
Yeah. How many years were you in Dallas?
We were there for 3 years.
Yeah. I mean, that was the hardest time to stay connected.
Yeah.
That was before the internet, so we couldn't text each other or email each other.
How did you stay connected? You mentioned the trip, but what other ways?
Call.
I mean, I remember there were phone calls,
And Greg came down, like I said, for a men's, I think it was, what was that men's?
It was the old Promise Keepers.
Promise Keepers, yeah. There was a Promise Keepers conference that he came down for. So it was fun to have him come.
I wanted to see, where they went to church and see Dallas and see what he was doing.
Yeah.
At that time, we didn't know if he would be coming back to the Midwest. As it turned out, he moved back to Wisconsin.
Right.
Yeah. The word I'm thinking of is expense, but not in the money sense. I'm thinking the commitment of that friendship. You mentioned some of the travel, and things like that. What is that for? Even just for Greg, you saying, "Hey, you know what, family, we're going to take a trip. We're going to do that." What was that for you? Just to set even your family's direction to say, "Hey, this is a friendship we want to cultivate, a connection we want to keep." What was like that for your family to even introduce? I mean, they probably knew the Pratts and doing a lot of things, but then just to even travel down to Texas.
Yeah, I think it was just assumed. I don't think there was ever a time where we said, you know what, I wonder if we should maintain our friendship with the Pratts. It wasn't like that.
Right.
And it was just assumed that we would always stay connected with them, whether it was hard or it was easy. And it was harder in Dallas, but then they moved to Wisconsin and they moved back to the Twin Cities. Yeah.
And in Wisconsin, they would come over regularly and see us. And then, of course, we would come back. It was a lot easier to come back to the Twin Cities. Elaine's parents still lived here then. And so we would always connect our families. We usually would get together as families.
Yeah.
As
our kids knew each other really well growing up, still do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think there were a few times we came to Wisconsin a few times, and I think we stayed in the guest housing at Maranatha.
Oh,
if I recall.
Yeah.
Some of the listeners.
And
might know about that.
Elaine set up a surprise graduation party for me. And Greg and his family came up for that. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. How have you then intentionally, you talk about just some of the natural ways. I mean, you're both going to law school and seminary, or you've got got an apartment. What are some of the more intentional ways that you've had to fight through, even geographically within the Twin Cities and your different places? What are some of the parts that you've intentionally said, hey, we want to cut out this time of our month, our week, our year to continue that? What does building friendship look like even now in today's?
Well, I think we could go all the way back to when I got married after my first year of seminary. It was 2 more years. I mean, it was another year before Greg and Pam got married. But we would, even back then, cultivated our friendship by we got together for lunch regularly. Remember, we'd get together for lunch in Dinkytown.
We'd go to a Pizza Hut in Dinkytown because it was cheap and there was free parking.
That's right. And it wasn't that long of a walk for him to get over there, and it wasn't bad for me. So we would making times for lunch way back then. Yeah. And
were there any dynamics of that, the lunch conversations there? Just even accountability questions, things that you would ways to go deeper than just the weather, Minnesota sports, things like that.
Well,
yes. I mean, I think that's really important for people that you're just getting to know. But John and I we have such a deep history that, it's not like we have to say, okay, we've talked about the weather and we've talked about sports. Now let's talk about something serious or meaningful. I mean, that's just kind of assumed.
Mm-hmm.
I think other kinds of friendships that you form later in life, the dynamic might be different there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of organic connection that we have that goes so far back. Yeah, we're regularly talking to each other about important decisions in life that we're making, moves that we're making. Even down, I remember having a lot of conversations when Greg was thinking about transitioning from the litigation work that he was doing to estate planning, and we talked a lot about that. I'm sure we talked about when I was making the decision to leave Maranatha to come here to the Twin Cities to a church to pastor here. So there were those conversations. It wasn't like we had to write it down and say to make sure we're going to talk about this. Mm-hmm. No, there was natural accountability that has just been built in because of our many years together.
Yeah.
And just to add to that, I think, lots of Christian men need to hear that biblical friendship is important and to be convinced that it is and why it is. But we didn't have to have that that conversation. That was just assumed, and it's just a grace from God that we had this friendship, and we didn't have to figure out okay, is this going to be an important part of our life or not?
Yeah. Were there some people that you saw that modeled that friendship that just gave you guys the idea to be like, and you said it was just a natural thing. So it's not like some big decision set that, but were there some people that modeled that deep friendship that you recall?
I never thought about that.
I don't have any that come to mind.
Yeah.
I'd have to think about that.
I mean, we saw our dads connecting with other colleagues of theirs at the college, and our families would get together regularly. But I don't think so. Not that come to my mind immediately. But like the Lord in His grace has given us this historical connection, similar interests, a similar history, that so many things now that we have. And now even in our adult years, I should go back to one of the things that besides all the things we've already mentioned, going fishing together as well. We would, between our sophomore and junior year of college, I'm pretty sure it was probably Greg that thought of it, but the Olympics was going on that summer in Los Angeles. This is the summer of 1984. And so we decided we're going to go to the Olympics. We drove out there, the 36-hour drive, and when another friend of ours came along, and that was just something we do as friends, right? And now that's part of our shared history.
Yeah. And
we have so many other things that we could talk about, whether it's each other's weddings or all of the births of all of our children. Yeah. And these,
but that's an example of, planning something, being intentional about it.
Yeah.
It's not just a wedding that happened or a family event that happened. Was it 3 years ago? We went out to Cooperstown, New York to watch Joe Mauer's induction into the Hall of Fame. Right. And we took our sons along and I took my dad along. And so, that's another example.
And then we went on a Alaska cruise together, the four of us, our wives, and that was a lot of fun to do as well.
What shape does that friendship take then within the church of you guys worshiping together and then also just being an encouragement to others? How does the depth that you guys have, how does that maybe bringing somebody in and encouraging them, even in a difficult situation, that the depth that you have to say, hey, we see this, somebody that's in need, we can go be a help with the depth of that relationship. Greg, are you able to lean on Jon then just because of your shared history to step into somebody's life?
I hope our friendship is an example to younger men. I hope it's an encouragement to younger men. But I think, I don't know that we necessarily set out to tell people you should have a friendship like ours and here's how you do it.
It's pretty tough to tell someone to go back to age 4
yes.
and have the connections that we've been able to have. It is interesting that in our adult lives, we have never been part of the same church until just about 6 years ago.
Sure.
When we're both at Redeemer Bible Church. But before that, we were at different churches all the time and quite frequently would talk to each other about what's going on in our churches, when there was a pastoral search, and Greg was part of the pastoral search committee for Redeemer, actually, before I was there. We talked a lot about that whole process, and we were always talking about the things going on in our churches. So now that we're in the same church, it's a joy. It's not like we have to, sit next to each other in church, which we do rarely, actually, because we're always trying to look for ways to minister to those in the church. We have our shared history and friendship. We don't have to force that. Yeah. But I think that our friendship does hopefully it's encouraging to others in the church to cultivate good friendships and relationships with other men.
Now, I want to dive into that question a little bit that you mentioned, the how-to. It's not like you ever sought to the how-to, but we're going to pick that up in our next part of our conversation is just some of the encouragements that we can have within the church. You can't go back to age 4 and say, hey, I'm going to pick up that friendship. And sometimes those go different ways and geographically. But want to pick up in the next part of our conversation, just some of that how-to. But just as you both look forward to maybe this summer, as we're heading to the summer, sort of a fun summer conversation, you guys have any trips planned? What's the next thing that you guys have Just something fun on the docket, looking ahead next couple months.
Go ahead.
Well, John's actually finally going to come fishing with me.
Yes.
I've been inviting him on this annual fishing trip for many, many years, and he's finally given in.
I need to hasten to say, I would have gone, but it always falls on the same week as every year I go to the IFCA National Convention. It always happens on the same week.
Sure.
However, this year, that got pushed back a week.
Yeah.
So now I get to go.
And for the last 10 or 12 years, a group of 6 of us or 8 of us go up to Lac Sewell. Don't want to turn this into a walleye fishing podcast, but Lac Sewell is a pretty good walleye fishery.
Nice.
And so we go up to Canada for 4 days. And John's going to join us this year, along with his son-in-law and my son-in-law and
a high school friend.
A high school friend, and then a cousin of mine who's a professor down at LeTourneau University.
Yeah.
So we're going to go up and catch some walleye together.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
That sounds like fun.
And I can probably predict as well, we always go to a Twins game, at least one every summer. So I'm sure that'll be later, and we'll be doing that as well.
Ah, that's good. Just in biblical encouragement, is there a verse that comes to mind just to describe your friendship, the depth of that? Maybe just one of the concepts of biblical friendships, one of the verses that might come to mind when you think about that?
It's always the iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
John has sharpened Greg, you know,
and vice versa.
And my countenance, you know, by being a biblical friend in how he, you know, and how we hopefully refine and help and encourage each other and help each other in the callings that God has on our lives.
Right. What is the phrase? It's in Proverbs. A man lifts up the countenance of his friend. Greg would just use that language. I can't remember the exact reference right now, but that is certainly what God has blessed us with in our friendship for sure.
Well, excellent. I'm excited for the next part of our conversation. It's been neat to see how God has shaped this friendship, how it's been a neat way, and then even just some of the practical questions that we'll get to answer in part 2 of how do we do this. So thank you for listening to us on part 1 of our conversation of cultivating friendship. We got to hear a little bit about the fruit of that friendship, and now we're going to dive deep into some of how do we plant those seeds. So thanks for listening to us. If you ever want to come up to Minnesota, do some of that walleye fishing, we'd definitely love to introduce you to that. But thanks for joining us on this episode of the Central Seminary Podcast.